Well, it is the last day of 2024. Tomorrow is 2025. And wow, I don't know about you, but December just, I don't know. It doesn't even feel like December happened. It feels like it's just a blur. It was like Thanksgiving and then now it's the first of the year. But I wanted to read something that I had written down in my journal that I heard and just talk quickly on this. It said, have you ever allowed for the possibility that you have something important to contribute to the world, and the world would be a lesser place without that contribution? This purpose will be what sustains you in your life. And when I first heard that, my first instinct was to say, what a very self-centered thing to say. So, okay, if I don't fulfill my purpose, then the world is going to be less without me in it. But something just resonated in my soul when I read it again, and then I kept reading it. And then I realized that it is not self-centered and it is not being self-absorbed. To find the purpose in your life and to go after that purpose with everything in you, because that purpose, your gifts, your purpose is not only intended for you, it is intended for those around you and those you don't even possibly know or you've never met. And I remember thinking, how could a purpose be that important in a person's soul? And as I reflect back over my life, I remember meeting Mary and Kenny. We met at Bible college, and our expectation was we would get married and we would evangelize the world. We would be the great hope of the world. We were young, 19 and 22, and with good motives, not bad motives, but we were just delusional because, for one thing, ministry is never easy. And your idea of someone's purpose is very different than their idea of their purpose. And so as I began to reflect over my life, I thought, God, I have had this purpose since I was a little girl, because I had a praying mother and a praying grandmother that poured into me and prayed over my life. And I think everyone has a purpose, and everyone is given just unique gifts that would be missed if they're not tapped into and used. And so as I look over my life, there were so many times I thought, oh, this is it. This is where my purpose is going to come out. Oh, this is where my gifts are going to shine. And it never happened. It was very slow and methodical. And when we would get into a very broken and hard time in our life, I would think to myself, did I really hear that small whisper? Do I really know what my purpose is? And 10 times out of 10, I would say, yes, God, I trust that my gifts that you've given me and the purpose for my life is going to happen, but it's going to be in your time. And time is a tricky thing, and it's a very difficult thing, just like faith is a difficult thing. How do you explain faith to someone? It's not tangible. It is something that, as to me, is as big as loving my children. I can't put a finger on it. I can't put it in a bottle, but it's there. And that is how faith is. And I think that is how, when you find your purpose, that feeling is so strong, nothing can deter you from it. You hear of the starving artist, of an artist that literally would starve to death if that meant their art being exposed to the world. And that drive is just unbelievable. I mean, they're willing to do anything it takes. And yet we look at them and we think, look at the humility, look at, oh, it's so admirable what they're doing and they're, for their art. Yet if we have a purpose and a destiny, and during that time of reaching that purpose and that destiny, we have a lot of trials and tribulations. We have a lot of failures. We have a lot of dark times. There seems to be shame for going through those times instead of the grace that's given to other things like a musician or an artist, how we cheer them on. Yes, you go after that. That is, go after it. Don't let anything stop you. And I think that is how recklessly we have to live when it comes to our purpose. our giftings and our destiny, because I 100% that feel that this world would be less of a place if our purpose and our gifts are not utilized for those around us and we serve others with them. And so, like I said, there were so many times that I thought, oh, this is it. Everything looked right, but it was not it. And I had someone say to me one time that they felt like I was delusional. My nose is itching because my attitude didn't fit my situation. And I've always had the attitude of drive it like you stole it, more gas, less brakes, just you have to live with a passion and a fire in your soul that goes so far beyond your circumstances, so far beyond the relationships in your life, because I don't think you become whole until you come to a place of peace and you center yourself and you know what you're meant to do. I don't think you're much good to those around you. And I remember thinking that was very hurtful. And then I thought, I could not be authentic if I did not have this peace and joy in my life, even though to the outside world it looks like everything is falling apart. To find joy and, waking up and seeing the sunshine, or my children not being sick, or my parents still living. If I could not find the joy in the small things, God, how was I going to find joy in the really big things? Because trust me, with big comes trouble. It's never easy with exposing yourself to others and opening yourself up. I don't know how influencers seem to think that it's not going to be a hard thing, and it is something that I would not want to do because people can be very cruel. But that is my passion, that's my purpose, and that is something that my abilities can facilitate. I can tell our story and I can encourage other people, and I can say to them, when you find that central place in you, that place you always come back to, and for me, it's been God since I was a little girl, growing up with domestic violence and then my parents divorcing. And I was married when my parents divorced, and it still crushed my spirit. I felt like the world could not go on if my parents were not together, because I loved them both so much. I would grieve, I would have my moments, but then I would get up and say, but God, but God, I know that you told me that one day I would be serving you and I would be serving others because of knowing you. And so when you find your purpose and you find your gifts, just hold it like gold, like a treasure, because how many people are out in the world just floundering around. They're lost. They have no center that brings them back. And if you have that is the absolute best gift of your life. And I will tell you, that is what has navigated my life for 40 years, 60. I'm almost 60, so you do the math. But that driving force has navigated my life, my entire life. And I will comment on the heart attack. I remember telling Kenny I'd had the heart attack. In the process of having tests done regarding the heart attack, they found a mass in my lung. And I actually had the doctor say that there's a very high chance that you have cancer in your lung. And I remember looking at Kenny after they had left, and I said, if I pass, I want it known that I lived with zero regret. I lived my life. I drove it like I stole it. I had more gas and less brake. I don't want there to be any tears with my life. I have loved, I've had a husband, I've got wonderful kids, parents, friends. And at that moment, that realization, the real question came to me, Angie, if you pass, what would you have done differently? And I will say the only thing that I would have done differently, which I could not change because God's time is not our time, is I would have done this a lot sooner. But the timing wasn't right. So I just want to tell you today that find your purpose, because that is what will sustain you in this life that can be so difficult. Find your gifting and share it with the world. I tell, my kids, I mean, it's like magic. I tell Emma, go out and just spread it like magic, because hope and a sense of self-assurance and a calm, it is contagious. I compare it to having Apple Care on my iPad. I'm like, God, I treat that iPad just a little looser. I'm dancing with it, and it's just not so, oh God, I can't break my iPad because I have that stupid insurance. I think what greater insurance is there than knowing that God, He writes the insurance policy. He holds the insurance policy. He doesn't need any backing. He is the one that has that policy. So whatever is going on in your life, find your purpose, find your gifts, and live them in your uttermost soul in those times that it looks like things are not, they're just not very good. Life is hard, but if you find it, I'm telling you, it will sustain you, and it's manageable. So anyway, here's to 2025. So we will see how this next year unfolds, and I'm just excited to share with you what I feel like is the time. So anyway, see you next year.